Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. My name is Michaela. I'm the content creator here at KandidKayla.com. Here on this platform, we are all about growing ourselves, in ourselves, and for ourselves through the 8 dimensions of wellness. So today, I'm actually going to be talking about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about wellness as a whole and kind of highlight all 8 different dimensions, but really talk about something that's a little bit more fundamental. So today's candid conversation, the theme or overarching idea is, are you the main character of your story? So this is a loaded question. I think it has a lot that can be unpacked. There's a lot of layers to it. So I'm going to start kind of with where I got this from and the backstory behind what really sparked this question in me. So I have been walking this very different journey. If you've watched my last Singleness Saturday video, then you would know that I'm just really walking this journey where I'm questioning a lot about my construct of what it is to be a single Black woman and to love Jesus in the process. And I'm not really going to be like putting labels on it, being like Christian or whatever, because I think there's a whole lot more to unpack with that I'm not 100% there with yet, but I definitely love Jesus with all of my heart, mind, and soul, and so I'm really trying to please him in everything that I do. And with that, I started to realize that I had taken myself out of my life and was putting in different levels of what is constructed, or like this construct of Christian singleness, or being a Christian, or being a Black woman, or being a woman, or being a scientist, or whatever, and putting in the constructs into my character and into who I was, rather than just being me and allowing God to use me in those spaces. And it's really this conversation of, do I have labels that describe who I am, or are those labels defining what I do? And from that came this whole whirlwind of just conversations and thought processes and things like that. And so I host a Bible study once a week. And in that Bible study this last week, we talked about Psalms, I want to say it was 137. What we talked about specifically is this: in this entire chapter, David is talking about who he is and really pouring his heart out to God in such a way where he's like, Lord, he starts off by saying, Lord, search me, search all that I am, and really get down to the nitty gritty of who I am. And then he proceeds to tell God, this is who I am, this is who I am innately, and this is what you put inside of me, and I need you to fix whatever it is that's not of you inside of me. I need you to reflect who I am, who you've called me to be, to me, so that I understand it. And then lastly, he goes on to say, but I still have this nature inside of me, and I want to use all that I am, even the parts that aren't pretty, that may seem sinful, but they were built by you for me, to be the most me that I can be, because no one else can be like me, to serve you in the greatest way possible. And lastly, continue to search my heart and show me who I am. So through this chapter, it's just so freaking amazing. I mean, we could talk about it for forever. It's something that has to revelate to you personally. But the one thing I did pull out of that, and I mentioned, and that's led to this conversation here, is that David, when he's speaking in this passage, if you know anything about David and the life of David, and you read about the life of David in the Bible, you will understand that he was very selfish. And while, yes, he did things for the glory of God and for the purpose of his people because he was a king, there was a certain element to who he was that was very self-driven. And he would go through these ebbs and flows where he would be so self-driven by what he wanted, and God would have to course correct him. And it became this thing where he really became a man after God's own heart, because he had a personal relationship with Jesus that was centered around him and Jesus, and understanding that if he was going to have a life or an existence, a being beyond just doing what the Lord wants, but really being involved and being an active participant in who he is and the legacy that he left, it required a Christ and self-centered universe, meaning this constant tension and balance between who you are and who God is, and what God is trying to bestow inside of you in order to fulfill a work in you. With that, it got me to really thinking, what happens if we are trying to build our relationship with God, but we're not seeing our lives as us being in it? And instead, we start adding these descriptors and allow these descriptors to fill and define who we are rather than describing the different things in our nature. And so that got me to ask the question, am I living a life where I am the main character? Meaning, am I treating myself like the main participant in my life in such a way that God can use me, grow me, correct me, and all the things so that I can be to other people and ultimately do what He's called me to do? And I know it's like kind of convoluted. It's hard for me to convey in words, so I hope you guys are understanding. I wanted to talk about this just because I think it's so important, especially with everything that's going on. At some point in time, you're going to have to like take a step back from what the world is and focus on who you are. And then the word definitely says do not be of the world, but we definitely have to live in the world. So as a result of that, like, don't allow everything within the macrocosm to affect your personal microcosm. And that doesn't mean that it won't change the positioning of your microcosm, but it should not affect who you are to yourself, how you act for yourself, and all of those things. And so if we're really talking about making ourselves the main character, that's being ever present in our wellness and being ever present in all those 8 dimensions of wellness so that it culminates into who we are. And it's hard. Like, it's hard, first of all, to just wear many hats if we're talking in a macroscopic scale, right? Like, I am a student, I am a teacher, I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a friend, I am an aunt, I am a godmother, I am literally a business owner, and all the other hats that I juggle and carry, right? And that's just who I am to other people on a macroscopic scale. But then if we're talking about who am I to me, I am my own provider in the sense of, like, if I don't work, if I drop out of school, we're not eating. I mean, not necessarily. God is ultimately my provider, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, if I don't work, can't really expect God to come through if I'm not putting in the work that He's asked me to do. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not taking care of myself and loving myself, then I'm no longer my own lover. If I'm not putting myself in the best possible position, then I'm no longer my own protector. I'm not using wisdom. And the list goes on and on. But what I'm saying is, like, if you don't take care of yourself first, you cannot be to anything else or anyone else. So this idea of being in your own being and being present in your wellness in such a way that you are the main character of your story allows you to propel your wellness in all the 8 dimensions. So if we're talking about mentally, you are responsible for your own knowledge and your own pursuit of knowledge. The Bible says, my people perish for a lack of wisdom and a lack of knowledge. And, like, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, but wisdom equates to knowledge plus action. And so when He says my people perish, it's because not only do you not know what you need, but you're also not willing to put in the work to implement what it is that you know that you need. And so it's on you if you're not doing that. Videos like this help because it's gonna, like, challenge your way of thinking, but also just studying you, taking time to understand you. What do you believe? Why do you believe? How do you believe? How do you grow? What is the most effective ways for you to understand things? When was the last time you learned something new? Because it should be every single day. How are you working and operating? Are you staying stagnant? Is there any area of your life that you are deficient? Is there any area of your life that you excel? Like, just basic knowledge of yourself goes a long way. But then on top of that, if we're talking on the, like, macroscopic scale, what are the best ways for you to structure your interaction with the microcosm so that your microcosm flourishes to the greatest point it can? And understanding that, like, all of our days are numbered. we do not have forever to live. And I know that's like morbid, but it is true. And every single day that you wake up is another opportunity for you to gain and grow your personal microcosm to a place of fullness until the day that you die. And there's something that you're supposed to impart on this planet, on this earth, onto the existence and spirits and beings of all that is around you. You have been planted in a place, in a season, in a space for a reason. So if you're going to fulfill that and succeed in that, every single day you should be growing and learning and gaining a certain level of that and achieving, there we go, a certain level of that. So that's just on like a mental capacity. You need to know those things. Like, go after the knowledge. If it's something that you want, go learn it. On a very basic scale, when you're done with school and there's no one to force you to learn, where do you go to learn? I would hope you would still know how to learn. School is only there to teach you how to learn. It doesn't really teach you much of anything. It just teaches you how to learn. But like, 1 plus 1 is always going to equal 2. You can learn that in school or out of school. So what is it that you're learning? When was the last time that you sat down and actually tried a skill that you didn't understand? The next area of your life is your self-care, your emotional wellness. And again, this goes back to like taking inventory of your microcosm, but from a point of feelings. So when was the last time you just sat with your feelings and actually had a definitive feeling about anything? Whether it is you don't like to go down a certain road when you drive because of however it is that it makes you feel, or you don't like to be in hour-long conversations of small talk because it's not who you are, or you don't like peas. Well, why do you have an emotional disdain for peas? And like understanding that, really, when was the last time you dug out some childhood trauma and actually started to resolve it? And like, I understand that emotional wellness is a very tricky situation. It's something that if you're not properly taught how to investigate, it requires you to really go to a therapist and have a good therapist help guide you through that. But whatever it takes, you need to do it, because every single day you should be learning something new about yourself emotionally. Every single day there should be something that you're working on within yourself emotionally. And even if it's a day, for example, I take self-care days all the time where I literally do nothing. I just stay in the bed. Those, I learned so much about myself emotionally because my brain, unfortunately, will not shut up when I am still. And so in those moments, I'm able to decompress and understand what is it that drained me to this point where I need a self-care day. What is it that's taken everything out of me? What is my motivation to wake up in the morning, and how does that make me feel? And if my motivation is not something that I'm okay with, then how do I change my idea behind that? Because every single day I wake up, I want to go after the things that I'm called to do. I don't want something holding me back. So really understanding that about yourself and making sure that you're present in that. Like, feel what you need to feel at all times. Even if that means you're crying in strange places. Like, it sounds crazy, but I promise you it's so freeing, because there's a level of supernatural freedom that comes when you're able to be honest about how you feel. Like, that is probably one of the hardest things I've seen, at least in the Christian community, is we don't give people permission to feel how they feel and just be who they are. Like, for God's sakes, just let them do it. If they need to cry, let them cry. There's no time limit on when you're going to stop feeling the need to cry. So do whatever you have to do, get it out. And that doesn't mean to allow yourself to wallow in pain. What that means is feel what you have to feel so that you can overcome and get to a place of wholeness and wellness. The third area of wellness is to take a look at your occupational wellness and understand that, like, you have a job that you have to do every day. There is some way that you eat. Whether you panhandle, or you make videos, or you're a student, or you have a 9 to 5, or you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there's something that generates income for you, or generates purpose fulfilling for you. And whatever that is, you need to be nurturing that on a daily basis. If you're not the main character of your occupation, someone else is going to control your destiny. And that is unfair to you, and that is unfair to what God has called you to do. The only person that should run your life is God. End of story. Like, so if you're not being an active participant and protecting